this is Frisky-Daw, the barbecue wizard, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Bye-bye!
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you are ready to take part in the show this evening through various channels of connect, emails or phone calls, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to greg@bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now, second Tuesday of the month, as we are rolling through July just as quick as all the other months here in 2021. Brings a visit from the creator of AmazingRibs.com. Meathead joins us once again. He'll be here for the balance of the first hour, by the way, as he usually is. And tonight's topic is perhaps something you've never even thought about that we would chat, or a subject that we would discuss here on the show. Can I interest you in a little octopus? No? How about a little squid? Yes, oh yes. Venturing outside of the live fire box that many of us want to live in and happily live in that box, tightly packed in that box with chickens and ribs and pork butts and briskets. There's plenty of other things that you can get on that live fire cooker, no matter what it is. And Meathead and I will be talking about two of the most delicious items to grace your palate, only one of which I've ever tasted in my life, and it's not octopus. I've tasted squid. We'll talk about that next segment. But octopus and squid, plus your questions as they roll in. Plus, if time allows, we will recap Meathead's version of the afterburner method. You would recall last week, Sam the Cooking Guy did a version of the afterburner method on his YouTube show a couple weeks ago. So I want to talk to Meathead about that and have him go over what his method is, do a little compare, contrast, go from there, and that'll be the first hour. Then in the second hour, as we are talking about big barbecue and grilling websites, first timer to the show, somebody that I was not familiar with until Derek Rich's article came out a month or so ago. We will welcome in first timer Joe Clements of Smoked Barbecue Source to the show. And we'll be doing a deep dive on Joe and how he got started and where he is in this amazing world of ours and all the fun stuff you want to know about a startup and where they are today, how they got there, all that fun stuff. And then for the balance of the second hour, depending on where we're at time-wise, we may or may not make a refire of reading yet another passage in the authoritative reference on eating horse meat if you are a human. That, of course, being Horse Meat for Human Consumption, written by our pal, Leon Kenny, a former newspaperman, as we've come to know and love here over the last many months as I've done this. So horse meat for human consumption may or may not make a appearance. If we get there this evening, I'll be talking to you about the likes of rib steak and cube steak as it relates to our friend the equine. I have some things to give away as well, so if you're in the mood to try and play a game, because as I sometimes always like to say, hey, you want to play a game? Let's go. I'm ready with a game. Always ready with a game. So that's what you have this evening. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. If you are interested in joining, don't forget you can follow me socially at Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat using the @ BBQ Central Show for live video feed. You can also go to Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show, or you can go to YouTube /RD Rempe to find me as well on video. So share as you will or catch it in podcast. Don't forget, as I mentioned, podcasts, you can now get ad-free podcast feeds for the show if you're so inclined in 2 different places. You can become a patron over at my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/BBQ Central Show. Or if you use Apple Podcast, you can subscribe directly for an ad-free version right within that app. Very convenient. And just as an FYI on this Apple side of things, Apple should have a much easier way to join the normal file and the ad-free file together and then allow me to schedule everything Tuesday night after the show well in advance for the rest of the week. But they don't. So I have to do some uploading on Wednesday and again on Thursday and again on Friday for the best of show just to get the edited files in the right place. A long way to go to tell you this. If you subscribe to the ad-free portion in Apple, it might not always be updated with the edited ad-free file if you listen really early in the morning. But hopefully, Apple will figure this out as they muddle through the beginnings of this whole subscription thing that they're doing. Patreon has it figured the F out easily. I can go there tonight after the show's done. I can schedule tomorrow and Thursday. It's done in 10 minutes. Easy. Always difficult with Apple. However, if you're doing it through there, A, thank you. B, just be patient. Or maybe don't start listening until noon. That way you can make sure that everything's updated and you'll get ad-free because that's what you're paying for. Before we go any further, we want to wish a special 16th birthday to my youngest daughter, Marley. And they are growing by leaps and bounds. Why, here she is right here. There's Marley, 16 today. Look at, say hello to everybody. Willis?
Hi, everybody.
Are you going to be ready to judge here in a couple weeks?
Yep.
And what are we looking forward to in the finals? Lots of singing. Beat it, kid!
Get that big stuff out of here.
I knew as soon as I asked the second question, it was like, uh-oh. He's going to make me talk. I got to get out of here. Nevertheless, we wish her a very happy birthday and peace and love. And today she is King of the Castle.
King in the castle.
King in the
King
castle.
in the castle.
Listener feedback before we race over to Meathead for the next few segments. Connie in Florida writing in. Greg, I am a bit behind on the podcast, but I just listened to the semifinal results for the American Idol BBQ Central Show edition. And I am shocked that John made it through. He is really not a good singer. Honestly, none of you are all really that good at all, but he is especially bad. How did he get into the finals? I fear for your chances for winning the title. Dear. Connie, are you saying that there are shenanigans afoot? That tomfoolery and hoodwinkedness has found its way into the voting? Let me assure you, while we have judges by the boatloads as the live show is happening while we're singing, they have no influence on how America votes. That's why I say, even though the judges seem to be cutthroat, and that's being nice to most of us, they're not, voting for who's going in. It's America voting, and you never know what's going to happen when you put the vote to America. They will tell you what they're thinking, and it's John and me singing it here in the next couple weeks for the finals. So stay tuned for that. Gary in New Jersey writes in, Greg, Malcolm Reed has a farm. Yes, of course he does. I love his segments. Thank you for having him on each month. I learn a lot from him, both on your show and on his videos. Gary, thank you for writing in. Eric writes in, Greg, just watching the YouTube this morning. Great interview with Joe Davidson last night. Regards, Eric. Thank you, Eric. I agree. Tony in New York. Greg, catching up on a show from Tuesday. And while Malcolm's visit was great as usual, the interview with Joe Davidson rounding out the second hour was incredible. He has my vote for interview of 2021 right now. Meet Mitch, or as I called him, Meech, was great as well in the second hour. I plan on getting his book soon. All right. It's a lot of good positive reaction to the first hour and the second hour of last week's show. John taking one to the Gouleons right out of the gate as we lead into the American Idol Barbecue Central Show Edition's finals in the fourth Tuesday of July. You'll want to stay tuned for that. Meathead is in the green room. Before we get to Meathead, I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. Two different versions or lines to choose from. You have the original flagship, which I have two of those still. The choice line is what they're called. Here's what it doesn't have. A lot of the stuff that people get all wishy-washy about. App controllability, internal meat probes, headlights in the cooking chamber, windows of varying degrees. If you don't want any of that, fine. Choice line is right for you. They have a big one called the Jim Bowie. They have a middle one called the Daniel Boone. You pick which one fits your family the best or fits your cooking style the best and go from that. Now, maybe you're like most other consumers out there today when you're in pellet market. You want everything done for you. You want to be brainless. You want to be lazy. You want to be American, baby. Might I interest you in the Prime line? A little bit more of a robust build on the chassis. There are headlamps in the cooking chamber. There are windows on the cooking chamber and on the pellet hopper. There are not one, but two internal meat probes, Wi-Fi capable, app connectivity. You can make adjustments from the cooker right from the comfort of your spa or sauna or man cave or shed out back, whatever. You can be in the grocery store and make adjustments, check on temperatures, all that stuff. Same size units, Jim Bowie, Daniel Boone. Either line accommodates the pizza oven insert as well. That's something that you have to pick up and get down with the high heat pizza if you're not in with that. It's very popular right now. It's not going away. Nothing better than a pizza party on a Friday after you get home from work. Very fun. Go to greenmountaingrills.com. Once you find a dealer near you, go to the dealer, get educated, pick out the right one for you, and away you go. Success right out of the gate. Also, you can visit greenmountaingrills.com to buy rubs and sauces and other accoutrements to complete the Green Mountain Grill experience. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. We are back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic temperature control devices, sellers of ceramic grills with built-in power draft fans, accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or call them 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. The second Tuesday of the month, got lost in my weeks there. Second Tuesday of the month brings a visit from none other than the creator of the AmazingRibs.com website, Meathead. Hey, Meathead.
Hello, Greg. Hello, Centralites, and happy birthday to Marley.
Happy birthday to Marley. Happy birthday to me Saturday this past, by the way. Can you believe it?
Really?
I also turned 16.
You're ageless.
I know, and I'm an ageless, handsome man. I take after you, Meathead, of course. And two more handsome men have never graced the internet at all. Of course, you know what I'm saying, Meathead. Thank you very much. 16 years old, this kid is.
Can you question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why, if we're broadcasting from Cleveland,
yes,
do we have a Manhattan skyline? Can't you get a picture of the Cleveland skyline?
Meathead, your question is fortuitous. Here's the issue I have been struggling low these many months. Well, it'll be 1 year tomorrow that I've moved into this house from the old studio. And I've had the New York City background up pretty much ever since then.
Yeah, it's not a bad background, but
no,
you keep always saying you
look,
brag about you're from Cleveland.
Originally, I'm from New York, upstate, Saratoga Springs, not New York City.
Oh, okay.
So there is a connection there, but it's very limited. The bottom line is, if you go on Amazon and you search Cleveland backgrounds or Cleveland cityscapes or whatever for photography, like I'm using for this, there is zero to use. It's horrible
Google
at best.
Must have something.
Horrible
Google
at best.
Don't make me go look on the Google right now.
So what
Google
I've
must
done,
have something.
Meathead, please,
Chamber of Commerce.
please. So what I have done, I contracted a local Cleveland photographer by the name of Mark Sexton. And Friday, I will be taking delivery of a brand new Cleveland background that he shot.
Excellent.
I approved of it. And after $15,000 of paying him, we are off and running.
I'm looking forward to seeing the wooden shacks and the barns and the hovels of Cleveland in the background.
You bet it is. Those are the most endearing parts of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, where you can buy a house for the price of a VCR, as they say in a song.
Hey, I know we got a lot of cooking to talk about today, but there is some news. You have heard that Weber has announced they're going public.
Look, just stop right here. You're blowing my wad in the second hour, of course.
Oh, you're okay. So you're going to talk about that later.
Pulse. My finger is on the pulse.
All right. And have you talked about Traeger and Meter?
Meathead, please. What are you doing? You are just throwing it all out of the bag.
I'm sorry. I mean, this is big news, you know.
I know. Either it's big news. I'm going to be talking about it at the top of the second hour where I have an open segment. Nor did I want to take away any of our time because it's always fleeting. So we're going to be, but you're right. There's been a lot of big live fire business news that has taken place over the last 7-8 days. It's big news.
That's big news. I mean, right now, Traeger and Weber are,
Are they in a competition for something that I'm unaware of besides dominating the live fire market?
Well, that's it. I think they're both, in a horse race to dominate the Ace Hardwares and Home Depots, and I think it's going to be very interesting watching how that happens.
Traeger's looking for a $3 billion valuation. Are they a little aggressive on that, do you think?
I don't know. I have no way to. Well, I mean, you can always look at X times earnings and stuff like that. You know who you should talk to is Doug Scheiding. Doug is a business broker, and he knows how to do valuations. And I bet Doug would have some really good insight on whether those valuations are realistic or not.
I don't know if he's eager to talk to me about that. I mean, he does contract for Traeger, so I don't know if he, from a comfortability standpoint, would care to share his thoughts on if it's aggressive or not. But also, I did see that in Weber's release of going IPO that they're also somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 million in debt as well. I mean, that's not like overly concerning, but that's a number that sticks out to me as being pretty big.
Well, clearly they're paying Kevin too much then.
Kevin who? Is he even around anymore? Does he work for Weber?
I don't know. I think he's on a leave of absence. I don't know the whole story, and I haven't pressed him on it.
Dear.
But
well, I guess I need to reach out to Kevin and see if he's the former grill master of Kingsford.
I have no idea.
Are you sure you don't?
No, I don't. I kind of keep my nose to the grindstone and try to run my own business and try to make good recipes and trying to get a damn book out and and then trying to tease you about Cleveland and I don't, but I do read the news.
Where are we on the rubs and sauces?
I'm expecting delivery on the rubs in the next week or two. The packaging is complete. I'm very happy with the product. It's supposed to go into production in the next week or two. Everything. I mean, we started this in November, and we're told that it would be on the market in May, and supply chain, other things. What's kind of interesting is the sauce. We're starting with 3 rubs and 1 sauce. If they work, then we'll roll out some additional stuff. But the 1 sauce, it's a Kansas City style red sauce with a fun secret ingredient. We ended up selecting Head Country to make it for us.
You did?
And yes.
Old World Spices just bought Head Country.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can famous Dave you, Meathead, as well as you were trying to famous Dave me in the beginning of the show, for crying out loud. So I'll famous Dave you right back. How about that? Once Old World heard we were going with Head Country, they had to buy them. Yes, of course.
But it's so we've got it all under one roof now, and hopefully the sauce will be out in August. And I wanted to have product on the market for the summer marketing season, but we'll be able to have all good products on the market for next spring, and we'll be on the market in August. So hallelujah, finally they're coming. They're good products. So I'm very proud of them. I spoke with a website that sells rubs and sauces today, and I sent them some samples, and they raved over them. They said they were just really fantastic, and they're different than the standard competition rubs and sauces. They're designed to make. I mean, for example, the poultry one is mostly herbs. It's green. It's based on our Simon and Garfunkel recipe: parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, and in competition, they use pretty much the same kind of rub as they do on pork. Heavy on the paprika and garlic and stuff. But that's not my style.
Let me ask you about the sauce, because that was really a bone of contention here over the last many months. Old World didn't really tell you that they were going to sub it out. You found out about that, and then you've taken it back under control, and then, as you had just mentioned, got together with Head Country to do it. Now, look, I can certainly see Head Country being a partner there. They make the 5th most popular sauce ever. I mean, it's very popular in Oklahoma, of course, but in all sorts of different places across the country as well, in many different flavors. So when you did you approach them, or did they find that you were having issue? Okay, so you approached them. What's the conversation like there? Are you saying that we're trying to make the sauce, and how does it unfold?
Well, we had a recipe for the sauce, and I went to them, and actually I used our mutual friend that, once again, I mentioned his name, Doug Scheiding. Doug is friendly with them, and he provided me intro to one of the executives over there, and we began a conversation, and they said yes. I showed them the recipe. We can make this, and they sent us maybe a half a dozen variations on the theme. We narrowed it down to 2 or 3, and asked for modifications. They made those, sent us back 4 samples, and we narrowed it down to 1 and with a minor tweak or 2, and that's the one we're going with. It's very nice. I'm very pleased with it. They've been very easy to work with. The label stuff is really a bit of a pain. The whole business of nutrition labeling, ingredient labeling, universal product codes. That's something I really didn't know anything about, and getting that done and executed properly has always been a little bit of an aggravation. But I think we've got it under control.
Are you at all concerned that they're now underneath the Old World Spices, or is this just a perfect marriage because now you have a sauce expert?
I think it's going to work for our benefit to have it all in one hand. And one distribution will be easier instead of 2 different sources. So it should work towards our benefit. It was a fortuitous confluence of events.
Meathead from AmazingRibs.com joining me here on the show. Do you have any idea when that will be released?
Well, I'm told that the rubs will be done in the next week, and Done means I guess they come off the assembly line. I don't know what comes next. When they got to box them, how long that's going to take. Shipping. I've got retailers who want to order it. We're working on a marketing plan. Can we coordinate with them? It's all just kind of very sketchy out there. They've been kind of busy. They're having supply chain problems just like everybody else. And the sauce should be coming along in August sometime. So, I've decided back in May, when I realized we weren't going to get on the market in May or June, that I'm just going to roll with the punches, and we're going to get it out and, try to get it into circulation.
Is there going to be a mustard sauce effort? I know that was on the table at one point.
I'd like to. Originally, we wanted both a red and a mustard, and we shelved the mustard just so we can get something going. So I'd like to come back with a mustard, because I love mustard sauces, particularly on pulled pork. And I use my mustard barbecue sauce on hot dogs and sausages, and I use it on everything.
There was a mustard sauce that I used to buy literally by the case. Yeah, it had a hot version and a normal version. The brand was Reverend Marvin's. It was out of South Carolina.
Still out there?
No, and it's a horrific chain of events, because I had run out of a bottle. It was out of sight, out of mind, and then something that we ate one night, my wife was like, "Oh, what would be really good on this? Reverend Marvin." So I dialed up the guy who I had a personal connection with. His dad is the one that made the sauce originally. And I said, "Hey, Woody, is your dad still making the sauce, or is the company still around?" And he said that they had tied up all the loose ends and stopped making it about 6 months before I had reached out to him. And I said, "Well, can I have the recipe?" And he said, "Well, let me talk to my dad, blah, blah, blah." And dad said no. And he said, "Well, but maybe I can make you some at home and ship." I said, "I'll take whatever I can get." Well, a year later, like literally 2 days ago, and now a year passed, I reached back out to him. The dad has now passed away, and the dad made the son promise to not give out the recipe. Can you believe this guy has gold in his hands, and now he's. I mean, I would be completely conflicted, and by conflicted, I mean I would give it 1 second thought. I would go right to market with it, because I know this thing is going to be a winner. Sorry, Dad, but this guy's living by his dad's wish, and I'm screwed. This is terrible. It's tragic.
Well, to your listeners out there, don't feel too sad, because I took your advice and bought those frozen hamburger patties, and they were effing awful.
What?
Yeah, what the hell's the name of those? How dare you?
Bubba Burgers?
What was the name of those frozen? Huh?
Bubba Burgers.
Bubba Burgers.
Yeah.
And I bought a box of them. Took me 2 months to work my way through them. I tried everything under the sun.
All I can tell you right now is that's user error. Those things are delicious. And if you ever came to Cleveland, I would make you a double cheese Bubba Burger that would blow your mind.
I'll make you a real burger.
Fine. I'll come back to Chicago and bring a box of Bubba Burgers with me, and I'll blow your mind. You'll wonder how you couldn't have done it. It'll be a burger throwdown.
Throwdown.
All right. Now, let's stop all this nonsense and get to the task at hand. All over right now, you've often said, Meathead, that if it wasn't for Meathead, you'd be Fishhead.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to talk on a few different items in the seafood realm. One is octopus.
Cephalopod.
There's also a squid in the form of calamari. We'll be talking about that. So let's go ahead and strap on our diver's mask here just for a moment. And by the way, it is Shark Week, so we're tying in nicely to everything fish and whatnot. So let's stay in the water and play around here just for a little bit. So from a high level, let's talk about octopus first, because there's only one thing that comes to my mind. And in your experience, is this something that one can easily find locally, or is there going to be some hunting involved?
Some hunting involved. I mean, it depends on where you are. I mean, if you live in Hawaii, you can go out and snatch them. If you have a specialty fish market, there's a couple of them around where I live. They will order them. They will stock them. They're usually frozen, and that's not bad. The problem with cephalopods, which squid and octopus are technically, is that they can be very tough. And freezing octopus actually helps tenderize it. So you can buy it frozen or fresh, but frozen is preferred. I've been ordering mine from a supplier in New York City. And they're coming in around 3 pounds each. And they shrink about 50%. So you lose a lot of weight in the cooking process. And there's a couple of ways to handle. You cook them a little differently. First of all, because of the size. Why don't we start with calamari? Because everybody loves calamari. I want to tell you, if you like fried calamari, which is usually breaded and fried. Often it's dipped in egg or something like that, or milk, and then it's breaded either with flour or with breadcrumbs or both, and then it's fried. You've got to get the timing precise. Everybody's run into it. Overcooked calamari turns into rubber bands.
Yeah.
But they're really good on the grill. Basically, all you need to do, you can buy them all cut up and everything, or you can get them whole and cut them up yourself. Cleaning them is a little bit of a chore, but I explain how to do it on AmazingRibs.com, and it's in my book. I got good pictures in my book on how to do this. And then you, I don't know if you're not watching, somebody just flashed Cephalopodcast. That's it. This is the Cephalopodcast. I love it. That's the best pun of the day, of the year. So in any case, they grill up really nice. You want to use a grill topper, something that will hold them and keep them from jumping through the cracks and committing suicide, or grill grates, something to keep them from falling through. And they cook pretty quickly. And the secret here is a good sauce. And I've got 2 really nice sauce recipes. One is a Greek lemon sauce, and it's pretty much a blend of lemon and olive oil and oregano. And boy, it really is nice. And another one is a little flour and balsamic and olive oil. And boy, they just are fantastic. And I'll tell you, you throw some onions on there with them, and they're just, I much prefer them grilled than to fried. So check that out. If you've got my book, it's in the book. I think it's on AmazingRibs.com. But experiment with grilling calamari. Now, octopus. And I have recently learned that the word octopus is Greek, so the plural is not octopi, which would be Roman, or Latin rather. They're octopodi, or octopuses in English, or if you're James Bond, octopussy. They're similar, very similar structure and taste. They're mostly connective tissue and protein. There's no bones, and also you just can't overcook them. For octopus, the typical process is you simmer them for a couple hours, and I mean simmer. You don't let them come to a boil. You got to keep the temperature down around 190. It barely is bubbling. In some salted water. I've played with it in chicken stock with some seasonings and stuff, and it absorbs some of that flavor, which is a good technique. And then you grill them hot and fast, and you get them a little crunchy on the outside. You oil them first, then you grill them. And you can make a sauce for them too, or a dipping sauce, or they're great on a salad or on pasta. But the technique that I've used lately that really takes them to the next level is sous vide Q. Because they can be so tough, you throw them in the sous vide bag at about 160, 170 for a couple of hours, and they come out really tender. Then you grill them, and that is the best way. Problem with the sous vide is the skin comes off. A lot of the skin comes off in the sous vide technique, but it's not a great loss. It's not a huge amount of flavor in the skin, and they're just a lot of fun. I really like them.
When you take them out of the bag after sous vide, like if you're going to do a steak, take them out, pat them dry.
Yes.
Maybe you'll reseason before you hit the grill to do the flash, just to do the caramelization. Same thing with the octopus. Then?
Yep. That's the technique. Out of the bag, season them, oil them up so that they don't stick. Although they don't. And by the way, these guys are not fishy at all. They never, unless unless they've been mistreated, they never smell fishy. There's hardly at all any kind of an ocean or seafood smell. And they're just a lot of fun.
Is it just taking on the flavor of whatever seasoning you're putting on it then?
Yeah. And I like to play with sauces or dips. You can make a yogurt type dip, or you can make the last batch I did. I made up a mixture of olive oil, chipotle and adobo, a little splash of sesame oil, a couple other things, and I just soaked them in that for a few minutes before I threw them on the grill, and that really perked them up too. That was nice. They take on flavor as well. They're fun. Seafood is just a lot of fun. A lot of people are intimidated by it. One of the major problems with fish, for example, is it sticks to the grill. It's really hard to keep it from sticking to the grill. These cephalopods don't. They're not too bad. But we've talked about this, I think. But one of the best techniques to keep your fillet of fish from sticking to the grill is a good coat of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is mostly oil, and it does a really nice job of keeping it from sticking to the grill. The other technique that I like to do is cooking it on a griddle. Boy, that really it works out nicely.
Meathead from AmazingRibs.com joining us here on the show as we're talking about squids and octopuses and other various, what did you call them, cephalopods? And cephalopods?
Right. Right.
All right. So we'll wrap up with that here when we come back, and then we will talk about some other items, not the least of which is a refresh on the afterburner method of cooking steaks. So stand by, Meathead, just for one moment as I do a little piece of business. I'll talk to you quickly about Yoder Smokers. Designs and builds all of their products right here in the States, building pride through craftsmanship and world-class customer service. That's the backbone of how they've built the company. This approach translates into what can be a truly bespoke style product that elevates gatherings with friends and family. They're honored to have a trusted place in the backyards of America. From pellet cookers to wood-fueled offset pits and charcoal grills, consistent blue ribbon flavor has become synonymous with Yoder Smokers' name. Make no mistake, Yoder Smokers' flavor-driven design is unique to each style of pit, and their team has developed their cookers to perform time and time again while outlasting the competition for generations to come. It's this generational thought that is rooted in the handmade products that defines the integrity of the core values, American-made quality, and endless flavor, the benchmarks of Yoder Smokers. Go over and take a look. YoderSmokers.com and grab yours today. That's YoderSmokers.com. When I was out visiting Hoot and Holler Barbecue Trailer out there on the west side of Cleveland, which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it last week on the show or if I won after Tuesday. This place called Hoot and Holler, absolutely the best, some of the best ribs I've ever had in my life. They have a Yoder smoker on the back of their trailer. They also have a huge offset that they're using as well, but there is a Yoder there. So go to YoderSmokers.com. Roy from Hoot and Holler knows all about it, so you should take a look as well. We're back with more Meathead. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by CookingPellets.com. If you want to fire one of those Yoders or Green Mountain Grills, Traegers, you name it, go to CookingPellets.com and get all your pellets. The number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit CookingPellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com, purchase as well. Chris Becker and the gang over there supporting the show. We thank them for that. And we're back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Meathead, what are you doing?
I'm getting ready to play tennis.
Oh, well, looks like you've got quite a sturdy racket there, fella.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's what I do for a living. I've got a racket. I make my living at barbecue and grilling. What I have in my hand, if you guys are not watching and just listening to the podcast, looks like a small tennis racket, but it's a stainless steel grill grade, or maybe it's not. It's probably nickel plated, It's a round grill grate, maybe 8 inches in diameter, with a handle like a tennis racket. You were talking about the afterburner method. Now, I watched Sam's technique, and he did it great. He made one mistake, and that is he forgot to give me credit for inventing this technique and naming it the afterburner.
How dare he?
Yeah, but since I've been promoting it and talking about it, just for people who don't know the story here, a great steak has 2 parts. It has a wonderful dark mahogany sear, and then it has a even rosy color from edge to edge interior. And that poses a problem. How do you get that beautiful dark sear on the outside without overcooking the interior? How do you keep the interior even colored? 130 to 135 is or 125 to 130 is your medium rare temp, in that range, perfect tenderness and juiciness. How do you get it even? A lot of people, if they throw a steak on a hot grill, you're going to get what I call the rainbow effect. You're going to get a dark exterior, but then you're going to get a layer of tan, and then a layer of pink, and then maybe a small band of perfectly medium rare in the center. And the technique of the afterburner is to cook a steak. And now Sam did it. There he is, with a thick steak. And I normally keep it to 1 inch or less, but he did with some thick steaks, which is tricky. There he goes. And you can get this incredible dark sear on top of a charcoal chimney. And if you're listening, not watching, Greg is showing excerpt from his video. He's got 2 charcoal chimneys. And
now his were filled completely up to the top with briquettes. Is that something that you agree with?
I normally use a little fewer. The more briquettes, the more energy, the more heat, the faster they cook. So especially for a thicker steak, I would normally use a few less charcoal, but I can't argue with his results. I mean, unless he did some shenanigans, they look absolutely gorgeous. And you can see they're belching this, 12-inch flame.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I call it the afterburner. They look like the back end of an F-16. The temperature coming out of there is well over 1,000 degrees, and that's what your very top-tip steakhouses cook at. And you get this incredible all-over dark brown sear, no grill marks. You get the maximum Maillard reaction that you can get. Grill marks, you get just these stripes of Maillard reaction or branding, but this is a technique that gives you complete coverage. And if you haven't seen it, Greg, you need to send them, share the link so people can go watch and do it. I've got video of it too. Go to myamangingribs.com and look at my what I call extreme steak page, and I show you a video of how I do it. But it's really fast. You got to keep flipping. If you leave them on top of that grate for too long, they will burn in a hurry. So this gizmo that I'm holding up looks like a tennis racket. Is somebody liked the technique so much they invented this? It's designed to sit on top of a charcoal chimney. But there have been others. Here's another one that somebody came out with, and it's got little pins that kind of fit into the chimney and hold it steady. It's not quite as wide. And then here's another one that somebody came out with, which has got a really thick stainless steel grate, which really brands it nicely.
Is that
so
from,
there's several
is that one from Unknown Barbecue? That one
yes.
that you just showed?
Yes. Yeah. The thick one at the end is from Unknown Barbecue. They also make a really nice hinge for your Weber kettles and Weber Smoky Mountains, by the way. So it's a concept that is catching on. It's really excellent and ideal if you do sous vide Q for steaks. If you do a steak in a sous vide bag, it comes out perfectly cooked on the interior, but the exterior is butt ugly. And now you can throw it on top of a charcoal chimney, and in just minutes, you've got this incredible sear. And let's dispel the myth right off the top here. By now, your listeners should know that searing does not seal in juices.
Where do you think that came from?
I know where it came from.
Oh,
in fact,
great.
there's history for it. I think I've documented. I have an article on this subject, but it was sometime in the 1800s. Some scientist hypothesized that it seals in the juices. But if you've ever seared a steak, you know that juices will pool on the seared side. Juices will exude. They will drip out. They will evaporate. What you want the sear for is flavor. That's what you want it for. It's really, and it's a fun technique, and it's showy. I went to a sous vide conference a few years ago where I was a guest speaker, and for dinner, for 500 people, I had 500 Allen Brothers USDA prime ribeyes, about an inch thick, that had all been sous vide'd at 130 degrees. And I had 3 charcoal chimneys, and I was just cranking them out. And, like 2 or 3 minutes per side, and people were just going nuts over them. They were fantastic. First of all, Allen Brothers makes great steaks.
Oh, yes, of course.
And they're a mail order company. You can buy from them aged steak, prime steak, Wagyu steak. But in any case, it was just a lot of fun. And there's some pictures floating around of me standing there. It was a 100-degree day behind 3 of these charcoal chimneys flipping steaks. And I had a ball. I must have chugged 6 beers during that day, but it was a lot of fun.
Now, I've heard you talk about it on the show a number of times. To see Sam do it has also brought it back onto my radar. When I'm doing steak, especially if I've been doing or starting them in sous vide and then I'm just going to finish them on the grill, my first thought is to just go fire up the Weber gasser as hot as it'll go and flash them that way and be done with it. But I think I definitely want to be trying the afterburner method. I have plenty of charcoal that I rarely use now between pellet cookers and gas grills. And is there a particular chimney that works best, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I use the Weber chimney standard because I can fit 80 Kingsford briquettes in it.
Do you count them out?
Pardon?
You count them out?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you know me. I'm anal about everything. I'm a control freak. 80 briquettes in a Weber charcoal chimney. That's a known quantity of energy. So if I don't want that much, I cut it in half. I got 40. So I can control. Cooking's all about controlling temperature, controlling heat, controlling energy. And so I use the standard Weber chimney. I noticed that, what's his name? Your friend, he had Sam. 2 different types of chimneys. Sam, He had 2 different kinds of chimneys there. I just stick with the Weber, and it works pretty well. And I'm just a plain old standard briquette guy.
And you just fire them up, let them ash over, and away you go. You do a little shake before you start start cooking. Yep.
Let them ash over. You do a little shake, make sure they're hot, and it's cool if you do them around dusk or after the dark. You can see that flame, man. It is. You do not want to do it under any high tension wires or phone lines coming into your house or anything. It's well over 1,000 degrees, and you've got to stand there. And you need a long handled tong, and you got to flip. Do not leave them sit there too long. And one of the benefits of flip is that a lot of energy hits that underside. And if you flip, that energy will bleed off into the atmosphere rather than go down into the steak and darken the meat. And did I hear you say you have sous vide?
But we've talked about this.
No, we have not. Last time we talked about sous vide, you said it was a passing fad.
Yes, of course, and it was. By the way, it's total passing fad. Everybody was all over it. You even backed off of it. If we're going to get into the minutiae of this,
you're right.
So
I'm not doing it as much as I used to.
What I've said, and we've talked about it on the show plenty of times. I'll do thicker steaks, or if steak is going to be for dinner, but then I'm doing other items on various cookers, atomic buffalo turds, other appetizers, whatever, and I don't want to be clasped to the grill for perfection. I will let
Yeah.
the perfection happen in the sous vide bags. Pull them
It
out,
is-
pat them,
it
reseason,
really
and away you
helps
go.
with timing.
Yes, I mean, it's
Really
great.
helps with timing.
When we did the steak tasting for my parents a month and a half ago, I got 6 steaks, ribeye 2 each, strip 2 each, filet 2 each, and one was prime grade, one was Wagyu, and I did sous vide I did reverse seared all of those. But I would have been happy to do a sous vide as well. And then we had one A5 one A5 ribeye, and it was absolutely spectacular. Just to set it off, do a little tasting and so forth. But I think sous vide, and I know you think that it's least effective or least beneficial to do it with steak, but I find for me that's my wheelhouse. I use it a lot with that. I will use it on occasion with chicken because you can make it have a different mouthfeel and keep it safe and all that stuff and finish at different temperatures that are lower than the FDA. And if you know what you're doing and you read the information, you don't have to go all freak out and worry that you're going to die after you eat it. But it's a great way to cook steak and a great way to cook some other proteins as well. Now, will I drop a rack of plate short ribs in there or an 18-pound brisket like some of these yahoos are talking about? I mean, I don't do that. Medium rare brisket sounds fine, but you're not going to catch me. To me, I can't wrap my head around why would I stick something in water for 48 hours when I can cook it and have it done the way I know I would like it in 16 hours tops.
Well, the difference is I'm always experimenting. I'm always trying. By the way, we were talking about cephalopods earlier. Do not try to smoke octopus. Awful.
I was going to ask you that. Can you do a long, low,
totally
and slow?
Destroyed it.
Totally.
I put one on and it was just awful. Absolutely awful. And I didn't get all the details in there, but the technique is when you've got usually you get a whole octopus, you want to cut all the legs off, and I like to cut the legs in half because some parts of the legs are very skinny and some parts are thick, and they'll cook at different rates. And then you take the head and you split it in half, and it's kind of flat that way. You want to get rid of the eyes, and there's a little beak that's their mouth, and you want to get rid of that.
They don't come dressed?
They can. It depends, It depends. Usually you get a whole octopus, so you got to cut the eyes and the beak out, cut the legs off. It's easiest to trim them with a scissor rather than a knife, and a lot of fun.
Aren't they bigger than 3 pounds? The ones I see
They
on television look like they can swallow a ship.
Yeah. I have never tried anything bigger than 3 pounds. I would imagine they're pretty tough when they get that big. That's kind of the standard size. I think that that's their normal growth size, but there are some breeds that will get quite large and swallow a ship. But I stick with the 2.5 to 3 pounders.
Meathead, anything else coming up that you want to promote before I let you go this evening?
How's
that meetup trip? Is that all sold out?
Yeah, we've got 300 tickets out of 400 available, sold. The meetup in Memphis, March 18th through 20th. If you haven't heard about it, go to amazingribs.com/Memphis, and a lot of fun activities planned there. You mentioned Malcolm; he's going to be there. Mark Lambert. We've got a bunch of good tastings and a bunch of good food.
Let me ask you this question coming in from Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit. Is squid and octopus the same thing?
No, they're both in the cephalopod family, but they're different. Their body shape, their size. Although you can get small octopus that are about the size of squid, they're different. It's like salmon and halibut. They're both fish, but they're different.
I'm going to show a picture here so everybody can see what the hell we're looking at. So this is octopus over here, and this is a squid over here on the right. It looks like it's got a hard head.
Nice work.
Whatever
nice
the hell
work,
that
yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this one on the right, wasn't that in one of those pirate movies? One of those, what was the one that Johnny Depp was in? I think one of those pirates looked like that guy.
Fiction is full of stories of giant sea monsters, squids, and octopi sucking ships and others underwater.
Terrible stuff. AmazingRibs.com is Meathead's website. And you can find him on social media. You can chat with him over on his website. You can join the Pitmasters Club for less than $25 a year and get access to all sorts of really cool information that nobody else can unless you're part of the club. And you can see Meathead right here on the second Tuesday of every month. Meathead, always appreciate the time.
Always fun to talk to you and the Centralites. Thanks a lot, Greg.
You got it.
And
Thank you.
Everybody have a happy summer vegetable season coming up.
That's right. Summer veggies. We're going to be talking. We'll talk about that next time, Meathead. In August, we'll talk about summer veggies. How about that? All right, that's Meathead. As you know, AmazingRibs.com is his website. So go try your squids. Go try your octopus. He said it was not octopi. What did he say it was? Octopuses? I think he said octopus. That's the proper English, if you can believe it. I don't believe it. But it is. Octopuses. Let me talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers. Sterling Ball and the gang over there. The one-stop online shop for all things barbecue and grilling related. A curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies will get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has something for everybody to help you be a better outdoor cook. They have the rubs and seasonings, 13 to be exact. Popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Double Secret Steak Rub, Little Louis Seasoned Salt, Regular Money, Happy Ending. That's the name of a rub, by the way. Happy Ending rub. Yes. Okay. But it's really good. I put it on my ribs at the end. I also sprinkle it all over my pulled pork after I have it pulled up. Give it a little pop. If you're looking for a new sauce, how about Granny's barbecue sauce? Yes, they own that as well. It's a good go-to sauce. Top rated. They're selling cookers. You know that. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-star General Pellet Cooker. The only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're a backyard barbecue enthusiast looking for a durable and versatile grill that will last forever, you might want to check out that M Grill. Also, the Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. Not sure of what you need? Don't fret. Call 877-828-0727 or shop their website, bigpopsmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, Fireboard 2 Pro. Connect up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth if they have Alexa or the Google Assistant. You're in luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. You can find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call if you want to. Totally up to you. That number is 816-945-2232 or visit fireboard.com. I saw I had a text message. My program that I have on my computer. And here we go. Remind me never to get to... Oh. I thought Sam was watching the show, but indeed he was. Anyway, let's wrap it up here. We'll head to the second hour. Coming up at 10:14, of course, we have Joe Clements from Smoked Barbecue Source, so stay tuned for that. Your phone calls and emails along the way as well. Refresh your libations, and we'll see you back here in about 45 seconds. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show.
This is Rennie Knopf with Championship BBQ.TV, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shake your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the BBQ Central Show. The show that talks about all things barbecue and grilling related as they are happening across the country, nay, the world. Still to come in the show, as I had mentioned on the way out, Jim Clements from Smoked BBQ Source. That's smokedbbqsource.com. If you want to check it out before he comes on in about 13 minutes from now. There's always that one guy out there asking if I'm going to be pimping the watch. And I don't have the right watch on. However, somebody had a birthday over the weekend, and he got a brand Nubian watch. How about this one? Yes, the Hamilton Khaki Field Auto. This is a field-style watch, which means that it was based off of Hamilton and Bulova. Back in the day, were major suppliers to the armed forces of the states, and during those war times, Hamilton and Bulova were making field-style watches, so that's what this particular one is replicating. So you have the Roman numerals there on the outside. You also have 24-hour time just set underneath that, and there's a double-sunk dial in the middle there, and the second hand has a little red pointer, so you know where that's all at. So this is probably as small as I would go on the watch size. It's a 38 millimeter, in case diameter. So on the wrist, it's as small as I would go, but it's right there. So I'll go 38 and up is kind of my wheelhouse. So, I mean, it can get too big. Like, the one that I have that Sam the Cooking Guy has, that's 51 millimeters. I mean, that can get a little big, but it's nice. It's got a sapphire crystal. It's got the nice leather band. And then, of course, you have the what they call the exhibition case back. So right here is the rotor that wheels around. It's an automatic watch, which I don't know why they call it automatic, but this thing wheels around and I guess automatically powers the watch. But if you don't wear it or you don't have a watch winder, then it'll just die on you anyway. And it does you zero good. So, but it's nice. It's got a nice black dial on it and like the white numerals, the brown straps. So, very happy with that. And look who made out for his birthday. Me. Adding to the collection. Not overly expensive, by the way. I mean, certainly you can get into the tens of hundreds of millions of dollars with watches, depending on who you are and what kind of budget you have. And I'll never have a budget for anything, like that. But this one is, under $500 or whatever it is. So it's an automatic watch, so it'll retain value a little bit more. And it's a nice, it's not overly thick, so it should fit under a dress cuff if you want it to. So excited to get it. I wore it yesterday and today, trying to break in that strap. So love it. Very happy with that. So if you have any questions about it or watches in general, happy to take your feedback, questions, and otherwise. Don't forget you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat /BBQ Central Show on Facebook and Twitch /RD Rempe on YouTube for a video feed as well. Don't forget you can get an ad-free podcast feed if you so desire by becoming a Patreon over at the new BBQ Central Show Patreon page. Patreon.com/BBQ Central Show. Also, if you're an Apple Podcast user, you can get the ad-free show by subscribing directly within the app itself. So, one, both, neither, doesn't matter to me. Coming up on the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday, episode 185, taking you back to July 19th, 2016. And while this time in life might not ring a bell, you might be familiar with a game called Pokemon. Remember that? Pokemon? Back in the summer of 2016, the newest version of Pokemon came out, and it was via the phone. It was an app. People were using their phones in order to play it. People were jumping out in the middle of the streets and getting hit by cars because they weren't paying attention to what they were actually doing. They were more concerned about playing the game. I was also concerned with another issue that compulsion to play this game might cause. I won't get into that here. You can catch it on the feed Friday and listen to what I was thinking back in 2016. But I distinctly remember doing stories on the show, top of the second hour, saying, hey, people are playing this Pokemon Go on their phones. They're so caught up in the game, they're literally jumping out in traffic and getting hit. There's other things that they weren't getting, but again, we'll wait until Friday to talk about that. Don't forget, you can give John Solberg, executive producer of The Best Moment Show, JON at thebbqcentralshow.com. You can shoot him an email and let him know if there's a particular guest or segment that you would like to hear again that has already been on this show. So go ahead and do that. As Meathead tried to famous Dave me on earlier in the first hour, and I don't know if anyone has been keeping up with the business of live fire these days, but big moves being made by two of the biggest names in the business right now. The first moves being made by pellet cooker juggernaut Traeger this past week. And pretty much right after the show ended on Tuesday, maybe it was Wednesday or just popping into early Thursday, Traeger Grills had just completed and then announced the acquisition of the wireless thermometer company Meter. According to the press release, Meter will go under the Traeger ownership umbrella but remain as a standalone entity. For those of you that already knew about it, many of you had emailed me in hopes that Traeger will be able to remedy the size of the hole that the current Meter setup leaves in your meat. There was no mention of that in the article. And if that's the one, well, I mean, if you're going to ask me to get loose on Meter, if anybody over in England that has relations with Meter, tune out. I don't want to hurt your feelings. We've talked long and hard about Meter on the show for years. And while they have been an incredible success at generating crowdfunding revenue to the tunes of perhaps tens of millions of dollars, their shipping of the product was lackluster at best, took months, if not years. The connectivity, even to date, is lackluster more than it isn't. It's a great concept, and there's been plenty of Me Too's that have come after the fact, all struggling with the same issue. What is that? It's not like what you're seeing on a Barbecue Guru. It's not the same experience that you're getting with a wired unit like a sponsor of the show called Fireboard, where you can hook it up to a Wi-Fi connection in your home, put it on your LAN, and then you can literally go anywhere where there is a cell phone connection, fire up the app, and see exactly what's going on. Anywhere you want to go, miles away, as long as you have a cell phone connection, you can do this. But the Meter fails. So perhaps, because Traeger also fancies itself a software company and technology company, they'll be able to figure that portion out and perhaps gauge of needle or gauge of thermometer or something they could work out it as well. But again, it's staying as a standalone company as of now. Then later in the week, Traeger also announced that they were going to be going out for an IPO. Now, I don't think it's much of a surprise if you listen to the show that that's happening. Derek Riches mentioned at the end of 2020 that he thought Traeger would be looking to sell this year. And while this is not a step to sell, it might be a step in the ultimate selling of the business, so we'll see about that. Traeger is putting an initial marker of $100 million for this go-around. Traeger continues to look for that valuation, as I had mentioned to Meathead in the first hour, of $3 billion. I don't know what multipliers they're using. I don't know if they're just throwing out the number in hopes that some dope is going to bite on it. But $3 billion is huge. I think 3 or 4 times their gross revenues doesn't put you at $3 billion. That's a big number. I mean, that's approaching the revenues that the Barbecue Central show is making. Few do that in the live fire industry. Also, how about this for breaking news?
A Barbecue Central show exclusive news update.
That's right, Greg Rempe reporting for the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio. Breaking all of the live fire news that needs to be broken whenever it's breaking across the land, nay, the world. Not to be outdone by Traeger getting ready for their IPO run, Weber Grills has also filed to go on the stock exchange for public trading as well. They also are looking to raise around $100 million in that initial run, and there has been no talk of amount of shares that will be made available. Traeger did not mention amount of shares being made available as either, nor did they mention what the opening investment might be for those interested in buying. So if you're one of those stock guys or gals that's into buying stuff or IPOs or insider trading or anything like that, keep an eye out. Austin Parsons saying this, and truer words cannot be spoken. Not breaking. Meathead broke it in the last hour. Austin, how dare you? Meathead famous Daved me. That's a saying, okay? If somebody scoops you, you got famous Daved. Dan's right. That's broke news. You're right. It was famous Daved earlier in the show by one Meathead. So Traeger's out for IPO, Weber's out for IPO, and Traeger bought Meter. Major things going on. Before we get to Joe Clements from Smoked Barbecue Source, I'll talk to you quickly about Primo cookers. That's right. What do we know about ceramic cookers? Well, we love them, of course. We love the ceramics. We love the fuel efficiency. We love the way they cook. We love the heat that they hold, all that fun stuff. Primo's a little bit different than the rest because their shape is different. It's oval. It's not round. Now they do have a round cooker if you want one. But most of them are oval. So get out of your mind. Think about an oval. Think about how it's going to give you true 2-zone cooking when you use it. So you can bank the coals all the way over on the right side, for instance. You can leave the left side open. You can put the meat over the left side where there's no coals. You can do a reverse sear. And then when you're ready to rock and roll, open up all the chimneys or all the air damps on the bottom and on the top. Get it rocking and rolling. You can sear it on the coal side. True 2-zone cooking right there. More than 60 cooking configurations, if you can believe it, made right here in the States. Precision-controlled manufacturing, highest quality ceramics in any ceramic cooker available on the market. New lift hinge reduces force to lift the grill by 70%. You know that. Precision-controlled top and bottom air. Setting it to a number instead of a thickness or a pencil width. Upgrade kits available. You can upgrade your existing Primo. You don't have to buy the new ones only. Visit your local dealer. See all the improvements for yourself. PrimoGrill.com. You can find a dealer near you. You can also visit them on Instagram at Primo Ceramic Grill or on the Facebooks at Primo Ceramic Grills. Joe Clements is ready to go. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, your most unbelievable outdoor cooking and grilling device on the planet, currently available in 2 sizes with a host of accessories to choose from. Whether you're a beginner or a professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal, visit pitbarrelcooker.com. Tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you while you're there. Make sure you check out the end grain cutting boards as well. They are absolutely beautiful, easy to maintain, and a conversation piece as they sit down on your table or cabinet or wherever you're going to put them. That's pitbarrelcooker.com. All right, so let's go ahead and keep with the barbecue website stuff. My first guest in the second hour is created and runs one of the most popular barbecue and grilling websites on the internet. If you're looking for somewhere to go to get reviews on all kinds of cookers, information on cooking styles, recipes, plus a number of other ancillary items to boot, and all being done in an unbiased and not sponsored environment, then you might want to go pay a visit to a place called smokedbbqsource.com. We run over to the hotline and welcome in first-timer to the show and creator of Smoked Barbecue Source, Joe Clements. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me on your podcast show.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited to talk to you here. So before we get talking about the website and such, let's go ahead and get a little quick background about you. Obviously, one would surmise you're probably not from the States, so where you grew up and where you're currently headquartered now.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, as you mentioned, the voice gives it away. I'm not from the US. So your audience is going to have to put up with my New Zealand accent, or Kiwi accent, as we would say in New Zealand. And I'm also battling a bit of a cold, so that might make things double hard to understand. So I'm sure people will bear with me though.
You grew up in New Zealand. Are you still there?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Grew up in Auckland, New Zealand, and then actually moved over to Australia about 5 years ago. So I've been living in Melbourne, Australia.
What causes you to move from New Zealand to Australia?
Yeah, it's very similar countries. So it was not quite a nice, easy move, only a couple of hours away. And we decided we wanted a bit of a change of scenery. And luckily for us, the barbecue scene in Australia was sort of just starting to take off in a serious way 5 or so years ago. So it was quite lucky timing.
How long have you?
When I was just starting to get it.
How long have you been over there?
I've been living here about 5 years. I think 2016 was when we made our move.
Joe Clements joining me here on the show. Joe, when you think back to a young Joe Clements growing up, what kind of a culinary household were you a part of? Were you somewhere where mom and dad would like take you to the kitchen, or maybe a grandma or grandpa sharing secret recipes, or was it just kind of fend for yourselves?
Well, it was not the most exciting culinary experience growing up, to be honest. So I had it was four brothers and sisters plus mum and dad. All of us were pretty fussy eaters, and including my dad, who was a vegetarian. So meat options were pretty limited. And it was basically a treat, or maybe if you went to a barbecue, which is what we call it in New Zealand, you'd get a bit of steak or a bit of chicken every month or so. So it was always an exciting experience getting to eat meat. And then basically the first thing I did after moving out of home was went and bought the cheapest secondhand gas grill I could find, and started cooking meat for myself every night.
What was like the normal food situation for you guys growing up?
Ooh. I'll try my memory now. Probably pasta with some tinned tuna mixed through it. Lots of vegetables, stews, and things of that nature. I don't have the most positive memories of any particular dishes. Grilled rice with cheese on the top. That was the favorite growing up.
So you get
Very
through
simple stuff.
You get through high school. You go to college, or I don't know, do they call it like university out there? So some kind of like a secondary education.
Yeah, exactly. University here.
What are you studying there?
I ended up doing a degree in politics, which is not the most useful degree, I can tell you now.
Did you fancy yourself to be a high school? Usually when I hear somebody being a poli-sci major here in the States, the initial thought is that they're going to go back to high school or maybe get a master's degree and teach in college or something along these lines. But did you initially think you wanted to be a teacher of some sort?
No, it was just something I was quite enjoyed doing at school, and it was the easiest subject to do, and I had no other ideas of what I wanted to do, so kind of just went down the path of least resistance.
You didn't fancy yourself to be a politician at some point?
No, I don't think so.
Before you started the website, how did you personally define what barbecue and grilling was, and were those terms interchangeable to you?
Yeah, so back in New Zealand and Australia, barbecue it means something quite different. It generally is um, what you'd call in America grilling is what we call barbecue. So there's obviously a famous saying in Australia, throw some shrimp on the barbie, which just refers to gas grill. And that was pretty much the experience growing up, was all gas grills. No one really cooked on charcoal. If anyone had a smoker, it was pretty much exclusively just smoked fish. You'd go out on the boat and then you'd smoke the fish you caught, but nothing sort of similar to low and slow at all. So it's just a lot of grilled sausages, grilled chicken, that sort of thing.
So when was the first time that you were exposed to what we would call traditional Southern style barbecue or low and slow barbecue?
It would have been eating it at restaurants in Australia, which were getting a little bit more popular when I moved over here. So you'd get a lot of sort of Texas style barbecue, a lot of smoked brisket, that sort of thing.
When did you start thinking about smoked barbecue sauce? What's the impetus for even going down that road?
Yeah, so I inherited an old Weber kettle from my father-in-law, and I didn't really have any idea what to do with it. I'd just been using a gas grill up until then. So I started searching around on the internet and learning some basic techniques on how to set up a 2-zone system and different ways of cooking on a charcoal grill. And at the same time, for work I was doing a lot of web design work, working for clients, small businesses, helping them set up their websites and do basic marketing and things like that. So I was looking for kind of a project to have on the side where I could learn a bit of web design and also something that I was interested in, and being that I was sort of just getting into this world of barbecue and I found everything I was learning so fascinating. I set up the site. I think I spent about 10 minutes thinking about a name and tried to find something that was available and set up the site. And for those first few months, it was just by writing about kind of what I was learning at the time, which was sort of piecing things together from forums and Facebook groups, and there was a lot less information on the internet back in 2016. It was a lot more primitive. So you'd had obviously your previous guest, Meathead. His site's been around for a while, so his site was a lot of help, and just a lot of research and forums and sort of piecing things together, and then typing up what I was learning on the website and just posting it, and basically crickets in terms of engagement or readers to start with.
Would you say that initial version of Smoked BBQ Source was more of a personal blog of experience before it grew into how you see it today?
Yeah, definitely. I never had any idea of turning it into an actual business or bringing other people on board, which we've since done. It was really just me learning, both learning barbecue, but also learning a bit about, how to operate a website and, writing content and what kind of content do people like, and how to structure recipes and articles and things like that. So I was teaching a few different skills while also something I enjoyed doing. So it was easy to come home from work and instead of watching TV, I'd fire up the website and crank out an article or a recipe.
Joe Clements joining me here on the show from Smoked Barbecue Source. That's smokedbbqsource.com if you want to check it out while we're chatting it up here. So you had mentioned you had taken or you had visited AmazingRibs.com, maybe some of the other barbecue and grilling websites, and that as you're making your initial posts, you're not really seeing a lot of traction, not a lot of engagement from readers or anything like this. Where do you figure you need to go from here then? Was it a point where you're like, hey, nobody really gives a shit, I'm just going to tank? Or did you decide that you need to figure out some other way to engage in order to get traffic?
Yeah, well, what happened was I think I had worked away at it for maybe 6 months. And during that time, I discovered something which is called the Amazon, I think it's the Amazon Associates program, which basically means if you have a website, you can, and you're talking about products that are sold on Amazon, you can put a link to the Amazon product. And if someone happens to click the link and buy, I think it's within 24 hours, then you get a little percentage of whatever they bought. And by that point, I think I hadn't actually been working on the website for a few months. I'd gotten busy with work or something had come up, and I logged into my Amazon account and I saw that I'd made $2, $2 too. So that's even more exciting. And I can't remember what someone bought, but it must have been a spatula or some tongs or something small like that. But just earning that $2 kind of got me interested and excited about it again. And I got more into it, especially the review side of things. So I did a review of the Smoky Mountain, which is what the Weber Smoky Mountain, which is what I'd been learning on. And that review started to gain traction with, more, you could see the traffic number on that going up, and it started generating a few sales a month. So I think on the month after that, the website made about $20. And then by the end of the year, it was kind of making $1,000 a month. And at that point, I sort of realized this is something real and I should actually put more effort into it. And that's kind of when I started to take it a bit more seriously and start working on growing it into what it is today.
So when that traction starts to happen, as you said, you're starting to see some revenue growth, you're able to obviously correlate the posts that are doing well and how that's trending, how that's helping you gain some money. So are you now trying to focus your efforts on content that is going to be creating interest in order to have the click-throughs in order to sell? Like let me ask a better question. Is the mindset in the beginning, at least, to produce content and, if you click through and I get a percentage, hey, great, but it's not really something I'm looking for? Or are you trying to specifically generate content that is going to interest somebody to click the link so you can maximize revenue?
Yeah, I think initially, as when I started seeing some money come in, I kind of got quite excited and started going down that route. But I quickly realized that if that was the only thing I was doing, it wouldn't be in the long-term interests of the website, because if everything's just sort of focused on products and, click here, buy now, it's going to put people off. They're probably not going to trust what you say. And in the long term, you're going to hurt yourself. So I always made an effort to have a good mix of content. So lots of informational stuff where there's no product mentioned. And then when we do mention products, just keeping it natural. Like, for example, on this recipe, here's the rub I used. There's a link to it if you want to check it out. But here's also a link to a free recipe that you can make if that's what you want to do.
All right, so how has the site changed as we see it today from when you first started really, gearing up and seeing that traffic come in?
Yeah, we've gone through quite an evolution. So probably the biggest change now is just that it's not just sort of me and what I'm cooking anymore. So as the site's grown and traffic has increased and revenues started coming in, I've been able to bring on a team of writers and editors to fix all my spelling mistakes. And so now it's, as you said, I think we're one of the largest sites in terms of Google traffic anyway. And that's definitely due to just a focus on putting out a lot of good quality content that people like reading. And we've been able to do that by bringing on, I think we've got 3 other people working on recipes, either half part-time or full-time. And so now, we've got some great recipe contributors to the website, and we've got a good balance of content in terms of the reviews that we do, the recipes that we do, and the guides that we do. So you don't just come to us for checking out a grill that you're interested in buying. You can also get tips and new recipes. Probably also one of the things that helped get the site up to that next level was a lot of barbecue brands sort of noticed us coming up in the rankings, and so we built a lot of connections with different brands like sort of Pit Boss, Traeger, Fireboard, all those. ThermoWorks is a big supporter of ours. So they've been very helpful with sourcing us products to review, and giving us early looks at new releases. So that's really helped build out all that review content on the website.
So as you're bringing on more people to kind of scale out the way the website's going to operate, because you're getting the traffic, you're getting interest, you're getting products from some of the bigger suppliers out there, are the people that are working for you what we call here contractors or 1099, or are they like direct W-2 style employees?
Yeah. So to start with, I had a small email list of people who had signed up to get email newsletters from the website. And I just reached out to the list and said, who wants to get free products? You just write a review and, test it out, write up a review, and we'll post it on the website. And so it was basically just a product in return for a review. And I think about 700 people volunteered. It turns out people like getting free barbecues and grills.
Yeah.
So we whittled that down to a group of about 5 people, and we've still got one of those original 5 is still doing reviews on the website, but we have started paying him now. And now I'd say they're all freelancers in that they mostly have a day job or their own barbecue related business that they're working on, and then they work for us generally on a project basis. So if they'll do a couple of recipes a week or a month, or one review every month. We're always looking for product reviewers because that's the most time consuming part of the job, because obviously it's not like a phone where you can just turn it on and play with it for an hour and then write a review. You actually have to, do a pulled pork and grill some steaks, and unless you have a huge family, generally you have to break that up over a few weeks. So if a new smoker or grill comes out, that's generally will take us at least a month to get that review done. So if any of your listeners fancy getting into the review writing game, there's a jobs page on the bottom of the website they can check out if they're interested.
Joe, let me ask you, Meathead really makes it a point when he talks about AmazingRibs.com. Obviously, they're well known for their reviewer. They got Max Good, who I think was the first full-time employee doing that job anywhere. And he's very staunch. You can see it in their advertising and the rules, regulations of we're not going to do junkets. You're not going to pay us. You can send a cooker to us. We'll review it honestly. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. But we're going to remain unbiased, and we're not going to be greased in any way. And they've put together a list of this is how we're going to review each cooker depending on what kind of a style it is. Similar for you, are you not doing junkets? You're not doing any quid pro quo or anything like this?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when we started, we didn't really think about that side of things at all. I think Meathead comes from a journalistic background, if I'm not mistaken. So he obviously understood the whole, separation of the money side and the journalism side a lot better. So since growing big, we've made an effort to actually learn about that. And now we do have a sort of a guideline in place for our reviews. So we'd never receive money or any kind of gifts or anything for doing reviews. The only thing that we get from the companies is the product for free, which, because of my location, no one wants to ship a heavy smoker to Australia, so I can't take advantage of that little perk. So the grills and the items all go to our product testers in the States, and so they do get to keep that. That's a benefit for them, but they don't get any benefit if the review does well or poorly, or if people buy the product. So that doesn't really affect the reviews that they do. And then just exactly the same model as Amazing Ribs. If we post a review, generally the company will have a partnership program. So if you want to buy, if we do a review of a smoker and you want to buy that smoker, and if you click the link on our website, then we'll earn a commission on that. And that's a fairly standard model. There is some sort of shady elements to the business where companies will pay to have a product reviewed more favorably, or if you're recommending different products, they'll pay you to move a product up the list. But we've never taken part of that. It's just, I think it's short-sighted, and people, you can get in trouble. Especially, one company doesn't like that they've been moved down and they decide to sue you. So we're not at that $3 billion valuation where we can afford a team of lawyers. So we just prefer to keep it simple and try and keep it above board.
Joe, from a traffic standpoint, where do you see most of your visitors coming from? Is it equally divided across the globe? Are they mostly from the States? Are they mostly Australian, New Zealand, like your neck of the woods, or what?
Yeah, I'd say it's 85% from the US. So by far the bulk from the US, which that's basically been like that ever since I started. So I quickly had to learn how to use American spelling, which is a few subtle differences from the spelling that we use in New Zealand and Australia. And then after that, we've got Canada coming in second, and then US, UK, and Australia are all bringing in the rear, with a very small number coming in.
Are you would you call yourself a tech guy? Do you have like secret bunkers and filled with servers somewhere stashed away secretly, or like is all your website on some kind of like a HostGator or a GoDaddy or something like that, or do you own that?
It's on a server that I pay a monthly fee for. I'm slightly technical, but these days I try to just pay someone who knows what they're doing. I'm sort of technical enough to screw it up. So we pay for high quality hosting. I want when people go on the website, I want it to be fast as possible. So we try and pay for the best hosting. And it's one of the good things about running websites is that there's actually, you can have 1,000 people a month, or you can go all the way up to 1 million people a month, which is about what we're sitting on now. And it's very easy to scale up and down.
During the article that Derek wrote, Meathead obviously had taken some exception to not being number one. Meathead always taking exception if he's not listed number one. He's a very competitive guy, and he's always very ready to whip out this Google Analytics thing. Now, I have a website, but I mean, I don't give a shit about any type of traffic to mine because I'm a show that is more based on downloads, so I want to know about that, and that's how I sell my sponsorship, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really know too much about Google Analytics and how private or not private that is. Is that like something that you just give people access to if they want to know stuff, or like in your dealings with Google Analytics and letting people behind the wall, is that a pretty slim percentage of people that get to see all that, or are you pretty freewheeling with it?
I don't really have any reason to share it with most people. So it's me and a couple of people on our team who have access, but there's not really any secrets in there. It's just no one's asking to see it, I guess. We've never published stats on the website or anything like that. I think I might have one line on the site somewhere where I say how many people a year have visited the site, but that's about it.
Nobody's asking you, like a Traeger or whatever, says, hey, we're going to send you this grill, and, we just want to vet how many people you're showing. Can you show us a section or something along these lines?
No, generally companies have reached out to us because they've seen us on Google and they can see, that we're showing in the first position or the second position, so they know they want to be on the website. In the few instances where there's a product that we've really loved and we want to, we'll approach a company to see if they're interested in working together, and then in that case we'd give them a high level kind of overview. This is roughly how many visitors we're getting a month, or sometimes they're not actually interested because they might be, for example, if we're doing something related to pizza ovens, people care about how much traffic we're getting in the pizza oven topic, not in the whole barbecue topic. So that high level numbers only relevant to some people. And then all of our advertising is taken care of through a third party that just similar to the setup on Amazing Ribs. It's just we don't pick and choose our advertisers. It's very standard digital advertising setup.
So you got, let's say, 1 million visitors coming in a month at this point. There's 12 months in a year. So you're, let's say 12 million plus visitors or so, depending on, maybe last year was more because it's pandemic and everybody's just laying around doing nothing. So they got a lot more time to spend on the internet and visit a whole bunch of places that they would normalize or they wouldn't have normally otherwise. I mean, what kind of a gross revenue number is your site pulling down over the course of a year?
Asking the hard-hitting questions there. So I can actually tell. Normally, I wouldn't be able to tell you because I hate doing the accounting side of things. But I just had my yearly accounting meeting last week, which financial year ends at a different time in Australia. So last year, which was a massive outlier year with COVID, the site pulled in just under $1 million total. So we were obviously very happy with that because it's quite a small team and still a small project compared to some of the big dogs in the barbecue industry.
Does it also make you tighten up a little bit, knowing that at some point this year things will continue to normalize and you're worried that traffic might bump down? It's always good to hit the high water mark, but then you've set a high water mark that has become all of a sudden the thing that you should be doing every year.
Yeah, it's very true, and it's funny because in when was it, March last year, we were all getting ready to paddock and trying to work out how we'd keep the website running because we weren't smart enough to realize that everyone was going to stay glued to their computer and our traffic numbers would triple in a few months. So now we're on the other side of it. We've got the same concerns, but I try and take a long-term view. And I think what we're seeing with COVID is a lot of people, it's been more of a lifestyle change, and I think it's made a lot of people read and pick up hobby. And just because you can go to again, I don't think everyone's going to suddenly stop cooking at home and use new gear they bought. And on the flip side, people can now have back to their homes and they're going to need recipes and guides for that. So we're a little worried that there will be a drop off, but I think in the long term, barbecue is just growing around the world. More, especially young people are getting into it. So we're confident in the long term it's going to continue to grow.
Joe Clements joining me here on the show from Smoke to Barbecue Source. Let me ask you one more business question here, Joe, and then we'll see what you have planned for the rest of the year, and I'll cut you loose. Obviously, you have a big live fire website. You're a younger guy. I assume you don't have plans to bail out or dump the website here in the next year or two. So let's talk acquisitions. One of my favorite things. I'm a business guy during the day, and I love to talk business with people. My first hour guest,
Meathead. To sell your podcast?
No. I mean, everything's for sale, of course. I am a sales guy, so my pull to material items and things is very short. So, if you're interested, we can always have a negotiation about things. But that's not what I was talking about. My first hour guest, Meathead, we've referenced him a couple different times through this interview, has been very public about him having his website on the market. In fact, one of my embedded correspondents is actually the official broker for that part of the sales side of the business. So could you see Smoked Barbecue Source acquiring Amazing Ribs at some point if he's actively trying to sell it? I mean, to me, it seems like a match made in heaven. You easily become the most dominant force on the face of the earth, perhaps in history, as it comes to barbecue and grilling related websites. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea. I think obviously Meathead's built an amazing website, and it's still, besides any lists your guests have created notwithstanding, I'd still have to rank it right up at the top in my book in terms of quality. And I wouldn't say no to anything at this stage. I'd say his site's probably worth enough to put it out of my budget for the time being, at least. But no, I wouldn't say no to anything. But if we're just sort of thinking out loud about the business side of things, my one concern would be there's quite a lot of overlap in terms we cover the same topics already, and we write. There's only so many different ways to write about barbecue. So what we would be more interested in is bringing on board some more complementary businesses. So we've really been focusing pretty hard over the last few years on just doing content really well. So the reviews, the guides, and the recipes, and it's been our focus and dedication. But I can definitely see getting some products on board, whether that's on the rubs and seasonings side of things, or a lot of different accessories that would be really good complements for the website. So we might look to get into that e-commerce side of things at one point. And then there's also the paid barbecue education side of things, which is a niche I'm really interested in and excited about, which we saw, especially in the last year, a lot of people who obviously couldn't go to those in-person barbecue classes. So we've seen new businesses springing up, teaching barbecue online, and that's an area I'm very interested in and could see a potential acquisition in the future.
Joe Clements joining us here on the show. Joe, before I let you go, anything you'd like to promote might be coming out on the site soon, or things that you have in the hopper that you're excited about getting through the review process to get out to the public?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of reviews in the pipelines right now. One thing that I'm excited for is we've got the Gen 2 smoke fire from Weber that just arrived yesterday with one of our product reviewers. So I'm really keen to get a good look at that and see if they've fixed all the issues that we had with the first one, which I'm sure you've documented on your show, some of the disappointments around that product. So that's something I'm quite excited about. As far as plugging, we don't really have any products. Go check out the website, check out the recipes, and there's a newsletter you can sign up to. And I'm a bit lazy, but I try and send out a new recipe every week or so, and then we'll do a roundup, kind of the latest and greatest from the site once a month or so. And lastly, there is a YouTube channel that's very fresh at the moment, but we're just getting started, putting out a bunch more video content, which is a learning curve, but it's exciting. And then just I'd finish up by saying, if anyone's interested in, getting into recipes, or they fancy themselves a bit of a product tester, they like to tinker and they have a camera, go check out the job section at the bottom of the website. We're always hiring people who want to get into that content creation side of things. It's a great way to get some free product, make a bit of extra money, and if you're actually serious about it, we do have opportunities available for people to get more full-time work as well. So come check us out.
SmokedBBQSource.com is the website. Check it out. As Joe said, it is Joe Clements, the creator of the website, Smoked BBQ Source. Joe, really appreciate all the time tonight. I know I kept you long, but very interesting, engaging, and great to pull back the curtain and let everybody see what's happening. And I certainly appreciate your candor and openness. So hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Looking forward to coming back on soon.
All right, there he is, Joe Clements, right there. SmokedBBQSource.com. Go check it out if you haven't visited yet, and see what's happening over there. And as Joe said, if you're a reviewer or you fancy yourself a to-be reviewer, here's a way you can cut your teeth, get free product. Nothing better than free stuff, right? Absolutely. And I appreciate Joe hanging through those questions. A lot of people would have told me to go fuck myself. But Joe's through. Look, I think people understand the vernacular that I'm using. I didn't ask Joe how much money he had in his bank. I didn't ask what the net profit is. That's a little unnerving. That will get you thrown out of place. Gross profit or gross revenue is, in my estimation, kind of a BS number anyway. I can tell you what my gross revenue is of the show, but you don't know what I'm actually putting in the bank. There's plenty of expenses here. Got a $9 internet bill I have to cover every month. All that money's going to the internet. All right, let me talk to you quickly about Pits and Spits. Joe, I'm not asking him how much is in the bank. I can't. I'm only asking Sam that. Since 1983, Pits and Spits has been handcrafting smokers and grills in Houston, Texas. In that time, Pits and Spits has established itself as one of the premier brands in high-quality offset smokers, and more importantly, pellet cookers. Pits and Spits setting itself apart by using heavy 7 and 10 gauge stainless steel in every cooker, fully welded construction that you can feel when you use the unit, and a 304 stainless roll top lid and front shelf on every single smoker. Why does it matter? Well, by using high-quality materials, Pit and Spit smokers reach and maintain temperatures, allowing you to worry more about the meat than the heat. By providing a fully welded smoker, you don't have to worry about grease and smoke leaking out of the barrel, that grill rattling apart as you move it through the backyard. And by using 304 stainless steel, you're getting an heirloom quality product that you can pass down to your kids if you want to. Now, where some companies are focusing on low-cost only, Pit and Spit focuses on craftsmanship and using high-quality materials. Are there cheaper ways to make these things? Yes. But they don't like tack welds, cheap stainless, electronics that you can't trust. Having in-house manufacturing gives them control over the design and standards. Not something you find with stuff brought in from overseas. Also, their steel suppliers give you the best material. So they'll be used in some of the harshest environments around, so they're going to perform in any and all conditions. And their controllers made right here in the States. Unimpeded transparency into the program, something you don't get anywhere else. Pits and Spits has a dealer network across the country. If there isn't one close to you, give them a call. Call Coy at the shop, 844-650-6250. That's 844-650-6250. Whether you're a backyard grill master or a competition team looking to smoke 50 racks of ribs, Pit and Spits has a product for you. Check them out online, pitsandspits.com, all spelled out, or you can see their Pits in the Wild across social media at their handle at Pits and Spits. Once again, all spelled out. I believe we will come back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
This portion is being brought to you by Smithfield. Through the grilling season, head to smithfield.com for tips and tricks from Chris Lilly. By the way, we wish Chris Lilly a happy birthday. His birthday today. Aside from my Willis, of course. Darren Worth, Ernest Cervantes, Childs Cridland, also giving you recipes and tips for other things. If you're a committed cook, go to smokingwithsmithfield.com. Report your first place finishes in ribs and pork so you can get extra dividends at smokingwithsmithfield.com. Everything else at smithfield.com. Also, Vortic Watch Company, which is a small batch custom watch manufacturing and vintage restoration company located in northern Colorado. They take antique American pocket watches, turn them into wristwatches. Their mission, preserve and enhance the legacy of manufacturing excellence in America. In order to do that, they combine traditional and cutting-edge technology to create unique, quality, functional timepieces with exceptional value. Here's the coolest part. Each watch that they make is one of a kind. Not going to find it anywhere else. Vortic Watch, founded on the motto, America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out VorticWatch.com. And we thank Joe Clements for joining me last segment. Of course, make sure I get all these things out of here so we are prepared to leave. Cool J wants to know what my gross revenue. You want to know how much money I made, pal? I made $976,000 last year. How much did you make? That's why I drove an $80,000 BMW to work and you drove a Hyundai. You see, that's who I am, Cool J, and you're nobody. Just playing in a man's game. Do you want to take their money? Are you man enough to take their money? And scene. Yes! Thank you. All right, all the way back in the first hour, we talked with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, who is selling AmazingRibs.com. It is for sale. We don't know how much it is for sale. I think there is synergistic capabilities between Smoked Barbecue Source and AmazingRibs.com. I understand there's a lot of overlapping content, but you pick which content was the best, and then you take that one, you leave the other one that's best, you merge them all into one, you redirect the Amazing Ribs to Smoked Barbecue, bang! I think it's a win. I do. I think it's a win. Consideration needs to be had. I can explain. I can build the value to either side if you're interested. Guys, Meathead, Joe, if you're interested, I can build the value. I can do that. I'm an aisle across reacher. It's not even a thing. In the second hour, we talked with Joe Clements. He has founded one of the most popular barbecue and grilling websites out there as well. Smoked Barbecue Source. SmokedBBQSource.com is website. Check it out. If you want to test stuff, you can go to Smoked BBQ Source and apply to become a tester. If you're a recipe writer, you can do that as well. I would assume it pays like per test or something along these lines. For the testers, you're getting free gear, which is a benefit all in itself. Big show planned for you next week, and I can't believe it. Stephen Reichlin will be back. I believe Jess Pryles will be back for her quarterly visit, amongst others. So stick around for that. Don't forget the Best of show coming up on Friday. Don't forget the ad-free podcast feeds you can subscribe to over at the Patreon page or through Apple Podcasts directly. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. And until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe. Good night now.